What's going on, YouTube? So, been having a lot of questions about how I do my tiling jobs on my Shapeoko, since the other one can go so big. To throw together a new sign, just making one out of random, showing how I do my tiling process. I made a couple of signs, a couple of I think I made 4 foot, not 100% sure. So I got a piece of 3/4 inch MDF. I'll take a measurement on it, and then go into the house. We'll get on the computer. We'll design it. I'll walk you through how I do my tiling setups. Might do something for my slingshot. Not 100% sure, but we'll cut over onto the computer. I'll start doing a little screen capture. Try to talk a little bit louder on this one. The last couple I've done haven't been very loud, so I'll try to explain my process, how I do things, and then we'll get the sign out here, get it put on the CNC, and we'll get cutting. Alright, so the piece of wood that I got out there, it's 49 inches by 25 inches. So laid out the outline. It's MDF, so it's 0.74 is what I've got. My retract height, I've got to set low. The way I'm going to clamp it down, I'm going to probably screw it down so it won't go anywhere. So that's my settings on that. So I'm going to go over to the internet. So I'm going to hit done. First thing I'm going to do is change the size. I'm going to go width. It's going to be 44 inches because when I turn it vertically, it should fit okay. So I'm going to hit done, and then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So then, while it's still highlighted, if you hit done, you come up here. Oops. You got to group it first. So that puts it up there. I'm going to move it up here, that way I don't waste a lot of the material. We're going to just center it up. So this will center it any way you want. So now that that's done, we need to, obviously you can't cut this all in one shot, so what we got to do is we got to make 2 boxes. Knowing that the height of it is 49 inches, we need to divide it in half, which is 24.5 inches, and the width is 25 inches. We're going to apply it, we're going to bring it down. I always use the nodes, always lock the grid, because that way it's always putting it exactly where I want it. So we're going to make a couple of copies. We're going to zoom in to make sure that everything is lined up good, which it is. So now we come up to the middle point. We're going to take this, we're going to ungroup it, click off of it, and we're going to hold shift. Whoops. I'm going to click on the A. It doesn't highlight the middle, so we're going to hold shift, highlight it. We're going to group the A, and then we're going to make a couple copies. Again, grabbing the nodes in the corners so everything lines up. And I zoom in, make sure that everything's lined up good, which it is. I don't like where that T is, but we may move that. So we're going to grab these. So those are all set now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of this, leaving the shift key, and click the T. We're going to group it. And I think I'm going to just take that and I'm going to center it up. On the side. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it like that. So now that that's set, we're going to come back, we're going to grab the A and one of the squares. Remember, we made copies. And we're going to do an intersection. So then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to do the inner part, hold shift, you gotta be careful, because if you zoom in and you click this part of the A, you want to make sure that you click the other side of the box. And we're going to hit intersect. So now what we're going to do is, if I did this right and we delete this, it leaves that little part of the A. So then we're going to take this and we're going to delete all of this, except I want to keep a copy of, so I'm going to Control C. That makes a copy, so that way then I can delete all those. And that's going to bring, we're going to hit shift in this one, and we're going to group that A together. That way we can keep that A where we need it. Because in a second we'll bring it back so everything lines up. But for right now we're going to just kick that off to the side. So that's one tile. So now if I bring the A back, if I grab the right letter. So we're going to make another box. And we're going to do it the same way. We're going to do the height, 24.5. And we're going to do the width, 25. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drag this one up to meet here. We're going to hit Control C. We're going to make a couple copies. So that's that. So then if we hit this, hold shift, click one of our boxes, and hit the right one, it should union it together. So now I'm going to delete this one. Now that I've split them, what I'll do is we're going to ungroup that because I can't do the whole thing. So we're going to take this one, hold shift, hit this, group it, and we're going to hit hold shift and group the rest of this. And we're going to zoom in to grab just the A. So we're going to hold that down. We're going to hit all of this to group it as one. And we'll group that. So now I've got these two groups. So now if I hold this down and group it again, that now makes it one. Like so. But what I want to do is I want to capture one of the outside squares also. Because now I've got it all as one. So that separates that to where I can then come and click all this and group this. So now I have two files. So if I line this back up with the edge of my material and undo it, that should be everything. Everything should line up. So now if I click this and go over to toolpath, hit contour. Actually, I'm going to do advanced V-carve on that. Well, let's just see here real quick. Let's hit pocket. Yeah, that's not what I want. I gotta ungroup it. So now just the letters are highlighted. So now if I go over to toolpath, hit contour, hit pocket, make sure it's a 201. I'm going 0.15 in, hit OK. It's going to take 22 minutes. So then if I come up here and ungroup this one, I need to group just the words. So I'm going to group this, and then I'm going to group that. So now I've got this. I'll hold the shift key, group this, control, and notice this little part of the A isn't highlighted, so it's going to stop right at the middle. So then if I click on this, hit toolpath, hit contour, all the same thing, pocket again. That one's going to take 25 minutes. So then if I come down the simulation, that's what I should have when it's all said and done. But what I want to do, I'm going to try it. I don't know if it'll work or not. Don't know how long it's going to take. We'll take this top one. We're going to go advanced V-carve. I'm going to do enable pocketing area with my quarter end mill. And then I have a very fine detail one. So I'll show you what that looks like when we get back out to the shop. I'm going to hit that. It's going to take a second to think. So doing that is going to take, holy cow, it's going to take 1 hour and 48 minutes. So we'll show it in simulation, see what we got. I'll probably just go the other route because I'm just doing a demo for you guys, letting you guys see how I do it. So it puts a slight, because of the bit that I'm using, it's got a slight bevel to it. If you can pick it up, it's not a square, it's not 90 degrees. And that works pretty good for when I fill with the resin. It allows you to creep up onto this edge, that way you don't overfill. If you've got it just square, it's real hard to get it perfect, and this way it's a little bit more forgiving. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go back, I'm going to delete that, and we're going to just go with the contour. I'm ready to do 201. I've got the feed rate at 90. It usually eats through this stuff fairly quick. So we'll hit OK. And now we're going to save that as, we're going to save the G code as Polaris Sign 2, because that's going to be my second cut. So we're going to go over to my hard drive. We're going to save that. So then we're going to delete that. And now we're going to come down, select this one. All the same settings, pocket. Click on it. Everything looks good. We're going to save the G code. We're going to go back to my free disk. And we're going to do Polaris Sign 1. So I know to cut this first because I'm going to get my 0 set to this corner, so that way when it's done I can move it and set my 0 to this corner, and they should line up spot on. So the last thing that I've been having to do or check is I'll pull up my external hard drive that I pulled up and saved to just make sure that they're both there. So obviously they start with a P. It's in numerical order, or in alphabetical order. So there's Polaris 1, Polaris 2. So they are saved to the hard drive. So now we'll bounce back out to the garage and get things set up. Alright, so now that you saw me design that, and just basic Polaris logo, I've got 2 pieces of wood. I got an arrow one. I'm going to jog the machine to make sure that this edge is true to my axis. So once that's all set, I'll then line this piece up against it. I will square it up and I will secure it so that way it's tight to this edge. And then I will show you how I mark out for tiling. So give me a few minutes, I'll get you put up in the stand. Try to get a good angle on it. I may have to do a lot of it by hand, but we'll get things squared up and we'll get to marking how I tile it. Okay, so I've got the machine on. I just got an 1/8 inch end mill. I'm going to jog it over to roughly where the edge of this board is going to be. So I've got the bit down to where I can bump it with the material. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit lower. Something like this, I'll just use a brad nail. Just get one so it doesn't move. So now, on my screen, I'm looking at my my x-axis. It's at -0.7. So I will move it all the way up to the end. And I keep an eye on the bit to make sure that the bit's not bending or anything like that. Like right now it's going a little bit away. So I'll jog it almost all the way up to where I can still nail that board secure. So we're going to bring it up to that point there. And I will gently slide that board over to where it makes contact. And then I'll put a couple nails. So now I should be able to move this over and bring it up. And then I'm going to bring it back to the front. If you had T-clamp or a T-track and a sure fence, this setup would go a lot quicker. So I'm still in the material. So I'm going to bring my Z-axis down, and I'm going to slow my movements down, and I'm going to move it over. Just to make sure that I'm still So I'm just making contact. On my screen, my Z-axis is still at -0.7, so I know I'm still good there. So now I'll raise it up. I'll bump it over a little bit first, and then raise it up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it to the front. I'm going to raise the, and I'm going to position it to the center. And if I didn't bury all my bits, which I did, so I've got to fetch all my bits out. So this is I'm on a bit. Try to get it to focus. So it's flat on one side. This is what I use to get everything lined up. Now that's in. I don't know how well you're able to see that. I'll show you another picture of it here in a second once it's out. So there's a flat spot on the back side of it, which splits that bit perfectly in the middle. So if I bring this bit over, if I bring it over nice and slow, it might be a little too slow. I'm going to bring it down so I get a little bit more of the meat of the bit. And I'll take a second to move you guys so you guys can see. So I'll zoom in on when I edit the video, but there's a shoulder in this bit, and I've literally got this resting tight against the side of this. So that's going to give me my dead zero starting point. So now if I go to the software and I hit 0 for the x-axis and the y-axis, that's my starting point. So now what I'll do is I'll increase it, and then I'm going to move it over, and then I'm going to decrease it, and I'm going to mark right where that bit is. So now what I'm going to do is I'll raise up my z-axis, and I'm going to send this thing all the way to the back to get it out of my way. So now I've got this mark right there that is my dead zero point. So if I slide my wood over and I line this edge right up with that pencil mark and make sure that it's tight going up the seam, I should be able to nail it right there. So I'm going to put one nail, 2 nails, 3 nails. So now if I come back and go into the rapid position, I can rapid to the current XY, which should bring me right back to this point. So we're done there. So now we're going to bring it down. So I'm right spot on the corner of the board. So I'm going to raise this up. So now on my screen, I'll try to zoom in, get you the best angle I can. I got you on a tripod right now. This is my zeros. So everything's zeroed. So knowing that those tiles are 24.5 inches, I need to bring my y-axis up to 24.5 so I can make another mark. So that's what we'll do now. Alright, so so now I got you guys off the tripod. This is the bit that I was talking about. I'm trying to get it so you can see it. So you can see the shoulder on it. So when I had that lined up, I had it pretty much sitting just like that. So the shoulder, I try to get it as close to the top of the board as possible. That way, one, I don't break the bit, and two, it gives me a little bit more meat there to bump up against. So that's sitting there, I had lined it up, and there's a pencil mark right there where I got the board started. And then on the screen, when I entered 0, this was all 0 here. I then ran it up the sign till I got to this mark here, which was 24.5 on the screen. And then I made a small pencil mark. So now what that allows me to do is once it's done cutting the first tile, I'll free up the sign, slide it down till that 24.5-inch mark is lined up with the starting point. Once it's lined up there, I'll put a couple of tacks in it to hold it. I'll load file 2 and I'll re-zero the bit out again just to make sure. And I can then start my second file, which is part 2. And if everything is lined up right, as long as I did everything okay, you guys will find out, it will then cut the other part of the sign, so that way when it's all done, I free it from the machine, I can run it through my table saw, cut it to width, and then we'll get it painted and we'll get some epoxy put in it. So I'll get you guys set back up on the tripod, give you guys a little bit of machine running time, I guess, and we'll get rolling. Alright, so now that the first one's cut, the biggest thing you want to do is compress air. You want to blow it all off, and that way there's no particles that can fall down in between the two boards. So I'm going to give this a quick blowing off, and then we'll pop it free, move it down, and I'll bring you guys back to show you how I set it up for the second pass. So I've got the board freed up now. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to pick that pencil mark up. I'm going to slide that down until it lines up perfect with my other pencil line. So once it's lined up there, I'll put one nail in it. And I'll make sure that this seam here is still good. And if it is, I'll put some nails in it. So now that that's all set up, I should be able to just come over to the computer. I'll load a new file. I'm going to take number 2. I'm going to open it. It's going to take a second. So it's loaded. I'm going to jog it. I'm going to go to rapid position. And I'm going to wrap it to XY. So I'm going to take the dust boot off. And I'm going to decrease my Z-axis speed. And I'll try to get you guys in there, but if you can see, the center of my bit is right in line with my 2 pencil marks. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move myself out to the middle of the infield. So sound like I'm playing baseball, but I'm gonna raise my Z-axis. Gonna just move myself out a little bit, and then I'm gonna bring it down to my 0. And it's just making contact. The biggest thing is you gotta make sure that your Z or your bit setter is still exposed. So I'm gonna have to watch that as I bring it over to set the bit. So I'm going to hit start job. And I'm going to take off my dust collection just so I know that it'll clear. Sorry for the bounciness. Should clear it, no problems at all. So now I'll get the dust collection back on it, get you guys set up, and we'll start cutting the second half. Alright, so you guys just got to see a mistake I made. Happens to us all. So, went back in, I'll pop the screenshots in of what I did wrong and how I corrected it. So, after I resaved the file, what I did was when I saved it all as one piece, or 2 pieces, but I never moved the pieces in Carbide Create. So it thought that it could go out the full 49 inches, which obviously they can't. So what I had to do is I had to delete the very first toolpath, which was this one, and then take the second toolpath, move it down to my starting point. So I'll probably leave it in a video. When I saved this, I saved it just like this. And what you just saw was I started the second run, and it thinks that second run is way up here, so it went all the way back up here, and it was trying to go for the S, but because it hit its limit, it started to skip. So I stopped it real fast. So what we need to do is we need to go into design. I need to delete this one, and we need to grab this whole square, and we need to move it down to here, and then we need to save it this way. We need to delete that. We need to highlight this. We're going to do contour. We're leaving it all the same. We're doing a pocket, and we're hitting OK. And then we're going to save the G code, and we're going to save this one as Polaris sign 2 point oops. For my mistake. Because when we reset the machine, or when we slid that board, we needed to save this so it starts at the XY axis that I have saved as in the system on those 2 marks. because I didn't do that. I saved it as two separate files. It thought that that piece was still way up here and it can't cut that far. So now that we've moved it, it should line everything back up. So we'll save this. Like I said, the player assigned 2 point oops, and we'll go back out and we'll cut it again. So after the machine crashed like it did, I restarted the machine and went into the jog mode after I get my Microsoft account out of the way. I went back in and I hit the rapid position and hit the XY and it brought it right back, and if you look, I'm still right on my mark. Might be off thousandths of an inch. We're gonna find out shortly. So got that all set. So now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna hit run. I'm going to continue without setting 0. I'm going to hit jog and I'm going to increase my speed. I'm going to raise my z-axis a little bit, and we're going to take it out to the infield. And since I crashed it, I'm going to whoa. I'm going to set 0, done, and then I'm going to raise up my z-axis. I never like starting a file with my bit sitting on the material. It's not a good habit. I know the machine's going to raise it, but that one time that I don't is when it's going to do something. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the file. As you can see, and as I said in the screen capture, player assigned 2 point oops. So we'll load this up and we'll get things rolling on this one. So I'll get you guys set up on the slot, on the end of the sign here, and we'll start cutting. Alright, so you've probably seen this little flaw here. What I didn't take into account, I'm using a 1/4 inch bit. The way I saved the file, it thought that was the edge of the board, so it didn't want to go through it. So if you would have taken these two marks, if you would have offset that about 3/16 of an inch. So if you would have made the sign one come past this one, this way, 3/16 of an inch, it would have cut through that no problems at all. I was off 2/1000 of an inch. Literally just took a sharp razor blade, cut it. It's gonna work fine. It's just a demo for me to show you guys how I do mine. Me crashing the machine and saving the files wrong probably didn't help the scenario, but overall, that's a 46 inch cut on a tiling process. I'll probably finish the video off by just setting this up on the sawhorses, giving it a coat of paint, and then I'll pour the epoxy into the letters. I gotta find my syringes and stuff, but we'll get that all set. So I'll pop you guys into the stand and we'll get this put up onto the sawhorses and get a coat of paint on it. So that's pretty much how I do my tiling jobs. Pretty much just poured the epoxy. Did like a, it's kind of like a bronze copper flake colored. It's not different. It's labeled mahogany, but I use these syringes. I use these medical syringes. Pretty much haul up the epoxy harden on that. You pull the plunger out, give the syringe a couple of taps, and it pops right out. I'll just reuse them. I probably poured 30 to 40 different things with those syringes. But overall, other than a little mishap up on the A, and then obviously the big crash on setting up tile 2. Hopefully you guys found this useful. Hoping it helps out. If you got any questions, just message me on Facebook. I'm on a lot of the forums in there for Shapeoko and CNC machining. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'll help anybody. If I know how to do it or I can help you out, I'll do it. If not, there's quite a few guys that are in these forums that know quite a bit. Chris Powell, Full Steam Designs. He's got a lot of tutorials out. I'm slowly building them up. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, obviously. So I'll keep on pressing with these. Again, thanks for everybody that's subscribed. Thanks to all the new subscribers. It might seem small, but I'm up to 315 now, I think. So it's a big accomplishment. I'm trying to get up to 1,000, like to get even more, but my goal right now is to hit 1,000. So if you guys can help me, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Let everybody know about this. I'll put it up on there, and hopefully you guys can learn from it. Let you see that it's basic tools. You don't need all these high-tech gadgets to do tiling. You don't need to drill holes in it to put dowels in like a lot of these profiles do. You can, as long as you take your time, you set it up right, unlike me on the second tile. As long as you take your time, you can get a nice project. Like I said, this one was just a quick demo for you guys, just to let you guys see how I do my tiling. I'll probably take it, hang it up on the wall over there with my my slingshots on the Dragon. Make it a little plaque for me. Just try to take these tutorials and try to make them the best I can. Hopefully you guys follow along. Again, thanks for watching, and hope it helps you.